Third time lucky. Oh my gosh, phone's gone, got the dogs down, it's raining, hopefully it won't sound. Let's get going. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Judy and this is Running So and So, with still a little bit of a lack on the running front, but I'm hoping we can get started again very soon. If you're newly subscribed to my channel, welcome aboard and thank you very much for joining me on my journey. So, horrible miserable weather outside, so I thought I would do today something that I've been planning to do for a few weeks now. I want to talk to you about two patterns from a company that I've only just started working from. I made one of their patterns a few years ago, but I had to give up on it because I was using thicker fabric and my hands were having a moment. I have just an overusage problem with my hands, you know. You'll all get there eventually. If you like sewing and you are rolling your hems, and hand sewing gets the eyes and it gets the hands. Sorry for the bad news, but here's the good news. I've discovered Tilly and the buttons, so you can always, I don't know why I'd never done it. I just thought everybody seems to be doing it. And I don't know if I want to do those now. And then she released a pattern called Pearl. Oh my gosh, I fell in love with it. Instantly. I was checking my Instagram feed at break time, and literally I then went on to Tilly's shop and bought the pattern. And then I bought some fabric, but I'm going to come to that in a minute because I am wearing my Billie. And some of you will have seen it on Instagram. Thank you so much for liking it. That made me feel brilliant, especially because I wasn't too good at the time. So why did I suddenly make the Billie? Well, the Billie has been a jumper that I've thought about making for a while. And when I decided to go for this mystery box from First for Fabrics, I'll put a link to my unboxing in the description box below. I thought, you know something, I'm going to buy the Billie at the same time, because there was something about Billie, and I think it was the way that the sleeves had been shaped, because I have chunky arms here, so a balloon sleeve is always going to favour me having the chunky arms. But also I've discovered as I've got older, I'm actually favouring these wider necklines that are lower rather than higher. And that came out when I'd made a couple of the French patterns, the M-No top by Coralie Biasson and the Le Sweat by Atelier Brunette. Again, links in the box below if you want to check them out. So I thought, go on, give it a go. This is, you're out your comfort zone, Judy, so just go for it. I fortunately had white ribbing in. I always try and keep white ribbing in stock, and I bought it from First for Fabrics. I bought it probably 2.5 years ago from First for Fabrics when I first discovered them, realised they had the ribbing, and I bought a job lot of colours to have in stock. So I need to replace the white because that's now gone. I have simply made this top as if anybody could pick up a sewing machine and make it. Have I used the overlocker? I used my overlocker for one seam, and that's the seam that goes from here. It's done in one, and down the bottom here, and again here. Apart from that, I have used my sewing machine, and here at the neckline I have not, have I cover stitched it? Excuse me, I'm checking. So you can tell it's real. I've not cover stitched it, I've ironed it. And I have to say, it's gone together like a dream. I followed the instructions to the letter. Now, I have been sewing for a while, so I'm one of these that will sort of think, yeah, I know how that's going to work. You go through the years and you've done one very similar, oh, you've done that technique there and that technique there. You do start to think, oh, she wants me to do that, and you just don't bother. But as I say, I don't look at the instructions. I always have a quick glance over them, a quick skim read when I get the pattern. Important to double check the techniques that are required to make the garment. Now, I'm going to get the pattern out. Here it is, because I did make some notes. It claims it is for a confident beginner, and I believe that I'm one of these people that I don't know if I can actually say I like the term beginner. I want us all to feel inclusive. I don't like easy. I don't like beginner or intermediate or whatever, because I can remember years ago buying a Vogue pattern, and this Vogue pattern claimed to be very easy Vogue. No, it was not very easy Vogue. I was doing City and Guilds dressmaking at the time, and I just wanted to whip something up quickly. It wasn't. It was a tricky make, and it was down to the fact that it had the fabric and the zip, and it had a set-in sleeve. It wasn't very easy Vogue. It was tricky Vogue, so I tend to ignore those comments. I think we should look at patterns on the techniques that are needed to make it. So you will be stretched, for a stretch fabric. It will give you something to work at. It will give you a skill to develop, this pattern. And the skill it will develop with you is putting on the neckband. And I have to say, the instructions for putting on the neckband are excellent. The instructions, Tilly and the Buttons talk about quartering your garment, and you can either quarter it using the tailor's tacks they provide. That works very well. You can tell the light's going up and down outside, can't you? And then to put it in place, I used these. Now these are called Wonder Clips. Now I didn't buy them from any brand manufacturer. You can buy a tin like this on Amazon. They're not expensive. I'll put a link below. And as I say, I'm not paid by anybody to say anything. So the only note that I made on this particular pattern was putting in the cuff. Now, if my memory serves me right, she tells you to stretch it to fit it into the cuffing. It is quite long. So what you need to do is to put in a machine basted length. And when you do that, if you're using your machine and your machine has locking at the beginning of the line and at the end of the line, you need to take that out of the program. Just for that one stitch, you need to put it on, not the longest stitch you can get. I think 4.4 to 4.5 is a good length. And you need to make certain you leave yourself lengths of thread at the end to pull it. You only need to do the one layer, then stretch the ribbing to see the maximum stretch you've got on that, and then gather up the sleeve to that particular point and sew it on with your sewing machine using a stretch stitch. That is exactly what I have done here. If you do not have an overlocker, you can make this top. No problem at all. I could quite easily have done the side seams with the sewing machine. I would rate this for somebody, anybody can do this. It's an anybody pattern. In my ratings, it's for anybody. If it's the first garment you make, read the instructions carefully. Tilly gives extremely good guidelines on the stitch that you are looking for on your sewing machine. You are looking for a very narrow zigzag. So I'm just going to insert a short video just here showing where I actually sew down one small little seam on the machine. It is, I think, the shoulder seam. And I am using a very narrow zigzag. And I show you that you can do these seams fast and you can do them slow. If you put your machine to a slower speed, you will get a better stitch. It's not a question of being the fastest, it's a question of getting the perfect stitch for your fabric. I'm sorry, you can see my phone there. It's just that I know how much video is going through and I know I can insert it. I then show you in here, there's a shot of the screen showing the stitch that I used on that particular bit of the Billie. You're going to have to forgive me because it's the first time I've done something like this and I'm incredibly nervous. Now the next thing I want to show you is where I went wrong and why I am saying do not put your cuff through your overlocker, because this fabric is, I think it's just a stretch jersey. So what I've done is I've actually tried to sew on the cuff with my overlocker and it decided it didn't like it. Use the sewing machine, it's a lot easier. In fact, if you're a first time Billie maker and new to sewing and you're just developing your techniques, try doing a hand baste on it. You can't go wrong with a hand baste, it always works. I shouldn't say baste, it's the American term for tacking. But don't be afraid. If you want to tack, there's nothing wrong with it. A verdict on the Billie, give it a go. It's absolutely lovely. I'm very much a linden sweater person. I'll put the linden in, that's by Grain Line Patterns. Again, it's another very straightforward make, but I have to say the collar on this, the neckband here, on the Billie went in 100% easier than it does on the linden. That's my opinion, just that. So now I'm going to stop and I'm going to get changed. I'm back and I have popped on my pearl. Now I absolutely love it. So I have simply got underneath here, I've got a vest top on. I'm still not wearing bras because I just want my chest to be able to breathe easily without any kind of constriction in it. So it's a very simple vest top, but as you can see, this is a size 3. I'm a 10 to 12, probably closer to the 10 on the top than the 12, but even around the waist it's sitting absolutely beautifully, and then round the back again it's sitting lovely, beautifully. Now I'm going to just talk to you about this one little feature that is in it, and it came together, oops, beautifully. I don't know if you can see here, this is the eyelet, the hole that is made in the seam. I called it an eyelet because it is an eyelet really. You could actually, if you wanted to, put an eyelet in there if you really fancied it. But it's the gap that is created in the seams to put the band through. And I have to say that those instructions at that point were absolutely perfect. You saw me just altering that there. You are going to have to alter it. It's a wrap top. You need to make certain, you've got to dress yourself. You've got to make certain that your little bows sitting perfectly, and mine is not sitting perfectly. I shall tie it again. My mum always used to go on about me, saying, you've got to do these things properly, Judy. You've got to make yourself look good. So over, and I always, a little bit of a, I haven't even cut the threads off. You can see I'm so excited with this top, I had to show it to you. So there you go. Organise it, make it look fine, and it should sit beautifully here across the chest. Now, getting the top to sit here across the chest is what I'm going to talk to you about first. It is very much an open cardigan, and it will have bits. It is going to show a little bit there, but I don't have a very large chest. But this bit here, now again, this particular pattern is marked for the confident beginner. This one requires slightly more patience, this particular pattern. Now other people might disagree with me, and I was very careful on the fabric that I chose to make it in, and I chose a lighter weight jersey. It is a rib jersey, and I got it from a company called Jenny Stitches Fabric. The link will be in the description box below, and I know I've named the company. I don't get paid anything. When I saw this fabric, I thought, oh, one, it's the right colour to go with my Prosecco Fizz for the jumpsuit I want to make, and which is on the cutting table. But secondly, I think it's the right weight of fabric for this. I've cut, I cut everything out exactly per the pattern. I don't use a rotary cutter, I use pins and scissors. It's just the way I sew. You can use weights in a rotary cutter, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just telling you the way that I have made the garment. And the garment here on the band, you have to pull the band into shape. You have to stretch it to fit onto the bodice. Likewise, across your back, you will have to do the same there, and very slightly across the front. You don't need to make it bigger, it will work. Again, with these bands here, I did my bands, and then there was quite an extensive large piece of sleeve material. I put in my gathering stitch, pulled it up, worked out the maximum stretch, and then put it in, and it's given me the most beautiful, beautiful cuff. Now, because the fabric is slightly lighter weight, I don't have any bulkiness on the sleeves. And this garment was made completely with the sewing machine. I did use my overlocker, because once you've got this in and you've ironed it, you need to grade the seam. So underneath, and this is not in the instructions, this is my little tip for this particular pattern, to grade the seam so the bottom, when you fold it over and you've ironed it, the top one stays the same length, The second one underneath goes maybe 3, you take 25% off, and the next one down you take 50% off. And then you can either do a top stitch using twin needles on your sewing machine, or a very, very extended zigzag. I'm lucky enough to have a cover stitch, and I used the cover stitch here, and I used it again round the band at the bottom, and that has finished this jumper off beautifully. I would recommend this. And the Billie. Where's Billie gone? Here she is. I mean, if you ever think that you're going to buy a fabric that you don't know what it is, I mean, it's like these subscription boxes that we all get. We never know what we're going to get in that. I love my Billie, and I love my pearl. My pearl will match beautifully with my Prosecco Fizz. It's just the right sort of top to go over it. It's not the top I want, the dress I want. Oh, the dress I want to wear the top with is simply, it's a summer dress weight. And I'm going out for a meal at the end, well, it's next week, it's at the end of the month. Tell you something else I did. Because I've used what is like a cable knit in the pattern here, I had decided that I wanted a bit of a feature, because if I did the cable knit round the cuffs, I thought it's just going a little bit off. So what I've done is down here, and on the band at the bottom, and on the cuffs, I've done it perpendicular. I could do that because I have a fabric with a good stretch horizontally and a good stretch vertically, and all the websites will give you your horizontal and vertical stretch. If it's not giving of both of those, you will get a horizontal stretch. Sometimes it's your vertical stretch, and sometimes you get a vertical stretch and no horizontal. If you want to fiddle around with the way you do your pattern cutting on the fabric, you need to make certain you've got stretch both ways. So yes, I would recommend both of these patterns, and I'm going to say, please excuse my hair, guess who's been out for a walk with the dogs. They're now tired, so I thought, get on, get yourself filming. I hope you've enjoyed my little review of these two patterns. I am going to make another Tilly and the Buttons patterns. I have got the Francoise Dress, and it's one of my make 9s. And I put it in there because it was, as I'd never made a Tilly pattern, and I've already done that. These were 2 makes that were not even planned. When Pearl came out, I fell in love with it. Jenny Stitches has got some other beautiful ribbed jersey, and I'm very tempted to get some from her to make another one. But I don't need to at the moment because I've got plenty of other things to make. Plenty of other things to make. And wedding dress season is coming upon us, so I have already got 3 dresses. I've got 2 bridesmaids and a bride to alter. So that's going to take up some time in March. But I might take you along for the journey on the alterations, because it is straightforward. Once you know the basic principles of how the dress goes together and how to construct the seams, it's easy. It's easy, it's just having the confidence to work with the different fabrics. I always treat fabrics the same. I treat my fabrics with respect, and I'm not frightened of using an expensive fabric to make a garment. I will just treat it the same. If you treat your fabric with respect, you will get over now. Have a lovely day. I hope you avoid the awful weather we're having in the UK, and if you're anywhere else in the world, hello, welcome aboard, and I hope you're having a fantastic day, and if the weather's bad, can you avoid that too? So for now, I'll see you very soon. Bye bye.